Tip number 1, learn some basic expressions for your trip to Italy. Big disclaimer here, especially if you are visiting the south of Italy, English is not widely spoken here, so it will really enhance your experience if you know some basic expressions. Apart from buongiorno, good morning, or grazie, thank you, or arrivederci, goodbye. It would really help if you might know how to book a table or how to ask how much something costs. So I recommend investing in a couple of little phrase books. The ones that you can get from Amazon or bookshops, they're really compact, so you can easily carry them around with you. Or you can get like a visual dictionary to be able to identify the objects through pictures to be able to talk about them. I really recommend this. Italians will really appreciate the effort you make to speak their language, and that is very special indeed. Tip number 2, don't just stick to the tourist hotspots. Italy is a big country with lots to explore and discover, and it can be very tempting to go to the typical tourist destinations. But I want to give you a different perspective. Let's take the Amalfi, for example. The Amalfi is a destination that features on a lot of people's bucket lists of places to visit. And so you may well think that you have to stay in Amalfi itself or in one of the Amalfi coastal towns such as Positano or Ravello to have the real authentic experience. But let me tell you something, Salerno, the city that I spent 4 years living in prior to moving to Palermo, is an incredible place to base yourself if you want to visit the Amalfi. It is 30 minutes by boat from Amalfi itself and just 5 minutes away from the first Amalfi coastal town of Vietri Salvare. It is a fantastic place with easy connections to other parts of Italy as well. So this is something that you need to consider. Don't necessarily fall into the trap of staying where everybody else stays just because it's the done thing. Have a look outside of the areas that you're interested in to see if there's another town or city that might be a better place for you to base yourself and somewhere where you don't necessarily pay as much for your experience. Now, it's not just accommodation that I'm talking about when I say don't stick to tourist hotspots. I'm also talking about the activities that you do as well. Always be street savvy, but be adventurous. Take the right turn instead of the left turn. Have a look and see where it takes you. Like some of the best experiences I've had here in Italy have been when I have veered off the typical path, shall we say, and taken a track which has taken me to where real Italy is. Now, of course, I don't recommend this in every part of Italy. Some parts of Italy are more dangerous than others, shall we say. But I definitely think that if you want to have the best experience, you want to be a bit adventurous and you want to veer off the beaten track a little bit and explore what real Italy is like. Tip number 3, be adventurous with the cuisine. Italy is a food story. Every region has a particular speciality dish that you can try and sample. The food here is fresh, it's beautiful, and it's just some of the best food that I've ever tasted. So be adventurous, leave the diet at home, try the pasta, try the pizza, try the gelato, the ice cream. Be adventurous and try everything. It really breaks my heart when I see tourists in McDonald's because I think, save that for you when you're back at home. You're in Italy. I promise you, Italian food is some of the best you will ever have in your life, so make the most of it. Tip number 4, think about when you want to visit and give it really careful consideration because a lot of people automatically think summer is the best month to visit Italy. But as I talk about in this video right here, which I really recommend that you watch after this, summer, in my opinion, is the worst time to come and visit Italy. And in this video, I explain why, so make sure you watch that next. Spring and autumn are 2 fantastic seasons to come and explore this country for lots of different reasons, namely because the temperatures are a lot more bearable and there are fewer tourists during this time. So really consider when is the best time to come and explore Italy. I think it's a real shame to have a holiday here and not get to experience the reality of what life is like here, purely because you've come at a typical holiday time when there are lots of other tourists here. So do your research and try to come outside of peak season. Okay, tip number 5, research local festivals. There are year-round festivals here in Italy that are really, really special. And I promise you, they give you a real glimpse into everyday Italian life. A lot of them have religious significance. So for example, patron saint days, but there are also other festivals linked to food or other types of occasions. So I really recommend doing some research Googling the town or the city you plan to visit and researching if there are any festivals taking place during your stay. I promise you, I have seen some incredible festivals here, processions, celebrations that I've just never ever witnessed in my life before. So really do your best to research those because they will add a very authentic touch to your stay here in Italy. Okay, tip number 6, book your own excursions where possible. I know that this isn't everybody's cup of tea and a lot of people like to have the stress taken out of their holiday by having somebody else do the work. However, please understand that, for example, if you have a restaurant experience booked into your excursion, you are not necessarily eating at the best restaurant in Italy. Often, the relationship between the tour operator and the restaurant is purely transactional. It isn't reflective of the quality of food or the experience that you will have. So please be aware of that. Where you can, book your own experiences. Of course, there might be some aspects that are easier to leave to the professionals, shall we say, but I always recommend that if you want a real, raw, authentic experience, you need to do the work and you need to plan your trip. There are lots of good transport connections here in Italy, buses, trains, you can easily navigate your way around. Just do your research. Don't heavily depend on tour operators or tour guides. Try to organise and plan your own itinerary because I think you will have a more realistic outlook of Italian life by doing so. Okay, tip number 7, always make sure you are carrying some cash. Not every shop in Italy has a card machine. Lots of different reasons why, black money being a very big one. Also, you just don't know. I've seen a lot of tourists get caught out because the card readers don't accept their cards or they don't read the chip properly or there's some kind of an issue. So really and truly, save yourself the hassle. Make sure you've always got a little bit of cash on you and that way you have the freedom to buy what you want when you want, rather than being in that really awkward position of really loving something and not being able to buy it because you don't have any money on you. Okay, tip number 8, be street savvy. The amount of times I see tourists come to Italy and do the stupidest of things, it's like they leave their brain back at home. Italy is predominantly, in my opinion, a safe country. However, there are pockets of this country where crime exists and where people will steal and target tourists, and it happens, okay? And I just think wherever you are in this country, please don't leave your expensive belongings unattended. Please pay attention to things like expensive camera equipment. Please have your wits about you when you're walking around. Just don't leave your brain at home, okay? Italy, especially now, we are in this cost of living crisis. People are desperate, and unfortunately when people are desperate, they do crazy things. So just look after your stuff, okay? Don't come here, don't flaunt your stuff, don't take it for granted that your belongings are going to be safe, because it isn't the case, okay? So just be aware. Tip number 9, be prepared for begging. Begging exists here in Italy in a way that I've never seen before. It's very intrusive. Be prepared for people coming into restaurants, to your restaurant table, offering you roses, playing music on some kind of an instrument in return for money. It's in your face begging. And if you're taking an aperitivo on the street at a bar, for example, you'll have people, even children, coming up to your tables asking for money. Please be aware, this is very common here in Italy, and don't be afraid to say no. Be firm, say no. I'm of the opinion that it's far nicer to say no to these people from the beginning than to engage in a conversation that essentially isn't going anywhere, because if you don't have the intention to give them money, it's far kinder just to let them go on their way. So if you want to give money, of course, that's your prerogative, but if you don't wish to, then please don't be afraid to be firm and say, no, thank you. And the final tip, number 10, the coperto. Make sure you know about it. So in Italy, tipping isn't a common thing. Instead, we have what is known as the coperto, which is a per person cost added to restaurant bills to cover things like service and to cover any bread or water that are provided on the table for you. Now, this can vary in cost depending on the establishment, but generally it starts from at least €1 per person. So be aware of that. Understand that that will be an added extra. Some restaurants advertise this from the beginning, others add it at the end, but just keep it in the back of your mind that there will be an extra cost added to your meal. Of course, if you wish to tip on top, you're entirely able to do so at your discretion, but it's not mandatory. This is why we have the aperta. I think if you've loved this video, you are absolutely going to enjoy this one right here. In fact, I think it's essential viewing. These are the biggest mistakes that I have seen tourists make here in Italy, and I want to make sure that you don't make the same ones. I'll see you in the next video.